YouTube. Good night and welcome to Mindful Live 343. I am your host Nathan Springer. Thank you for being here. We are currently streaming live on Facebook, on TikTok, and on YouTube. It is the 7th of February in the year of our Lord 2024. Thank you for being here. The internet seems to be running a little fritzy over there on TikTok. I'm not sure exactly why, but as it comes, we'll go. How's everyone doing? How's February treating us? The February month is speeding on by. Early on in the month, we see cement prices are rising. And we see contractors are warning that, of course, if cement prices are rising, you're going to see a rise in building prices too. Cement prices increase. Contractors warn of increased building costs. President of the TT Contractors Association, Glenn Mahabir Singh, described the announcement of yet another price increase for cement by the country's sole cement supplier, TCL, as sudden and untimely. On Monday, TCL issued an announcement to hardware stores that they're increasing those prices. It is not the ideal time for any price increase given the importance of cement in construction, Mahabir Singh said in a phone conversation with Newsday. This price increase will put further inflationary pressure on the sector. Mahabir Singh said the price increase would be almost immediate as the demand for cement is high and the capacity to store it is low. Cement has a short shelf life. You can't buy it and store it, so you have to utilize it. So purchasing for the medium and long-term storage is impossible. In other words, as soon as you raise that price, it's fresh stock you're getting, so it's that fresh stock new price you're going to be paying. The price increase would be near immediate, and that's throughout the construction sector, and the construction sector has a trickle-down effect all around. The construction sector, if prices go up there, people have to build their houses go up, many other prices go up alongside it. And there's also the possibility that with increasing prices in the construction sector, that maybe you have a reduction in the activity of the construction sector, as in less people trying to build, and a reduction in that means less people working in the construction sector, which is also going to have a trickle-down effect on our economy. The government is now trying to do things to help this though. Government removes cement quota to offset TCL price increases. Government responded to plans by Trinidad Cement Limited to increase its cement prices by increasing the amount of cement which could be imported into Trinidad and Tobago. The Trade and Industry Ministry will meet with TCL at the earliest opportunity, and after this meeting, recommend further policy adjustments inclusive of a review of the common external tariff on cement if necessary in the national interest. So in other words, the government is basically trying to undo what they did to kick out rock hard cement. This is what the government did to ensure that rock hard cement could not function in the local market. And now that they have done this and kicked them out, now they're saying, well, we're going to reverse it because, TCL prices are really getting too high. So we will reverse it to maybe allow some competition in the market. So I would like to know, do these cement companies just function like a village parlor like this, where, okay, you drop that tariff, you increase the amount, the quota, and cement companies are just going to pop up tomorrow to offset those prices? Or is it even if a cement company wants to restart and re-enter the market, we're talking probably a year on before real competition is seen, so we still have to pay that increased price. And what did the government think was going to happen? If you allow one company to be the monopoly company, Of course, they're going to raise their prices as they see fit. Is this some shocking change that the government didn't know was going to happen? Trinidad and Tobago is run like a parlor shop. You could feel like that sometimes. Like, we're still here trying to fiddle with these tariffs and quotas, trying to figure this out. And when you hear the government reasoning for it, you could understand some of the reasoning. What they will see is, well, TCL is a local manufacturer. And that's why the government attempts to, make sure that TCL has an advantage over foreign importers. They want to make sure that the local market is bolstered, because a local cement provider will export and provide foreign exchange. They will provide jobs for the local market. They will also supply the local market. All right. I understand that. But are you telling me once someone is a local producer, then that means they are allowed to run roughshod over the public? They could do with the public as they see fit, because they know the government is going to protect them, so they could charge whatever price they see fit. They don't have to even worry about being competitive anymore. And then bear in mind, this local manufacturer that TCL is, that the government boasts about, and that's the reason they're protecting TCL, is majority owned by the Mexicans. 60-something%. So it's not even like the profit of this company is mainly held by Trinidadians. This is a Mexican company. Granted, they do their manufacturing in Trinidad and Tobago, but it is still a Mexican company. So let's wonder this. Let's wonder this together. Would a Mexican company manufacturing in Trinidad that is profiteering because they can monopolize the market, would that benefit Trinidad more, or would it benefit Trinidad more to have a local company that imports from a Turkish manufacturer and the profits stay local and the prices are cheaper? Which one would we prefer? And this is what we're trying to do here, balance this somehow. To me, if TCL couldn't compete with Rockard when they were importing the cement, it wasn't a matter for the government to step in to squeeze the competitor out and help TCL. It was a matter for TCL to increase their profitability. If a company could import cement from Turkey, bring it to Trinidad and sell it cheaper than you, who creates the product in Trinidad and Tobago, I don't think the problem is the company. I think your efficiency might be the problem. And if the government steps in to squeeze out the competitor, what they might actually be doing is hurting TCL in the long run. Because with the competition there, what it would have signaled to TCL is that their market approach is unsuitable. You cannot bring your product to market at this price, it will not sell. And that's the signal that the competition would give them. But no, you remove that competition so they don't have that signal, so they could continue doing whatever market practices they were doing, continue raising their prices, because they say, well, that's the only way we could make. What else did you think would happen? And now that the prices are raising 4 times in a couple months, now we're like, oops, whoops, we shouldn't have done that. Maybe we'll allow for competition to come back in. Got to love crony capitalism, exactly, Trini Hotep. And then these annoying socialists and communists would come in and blame capitalism for what TCL is doing there. That's not capitalism. Capitalism, the free market system, is what was going on with Rockard. Capitalism is if we allowed Rockard to come in and allowed another competitor and another competitor. By now, cement is $30 a bag. But when you squeeze out the competition, that's what you get. And that crony capitalist attitude, that's the P&M specialty. That is the P&M specialty. PNM's motto should be crony capitalism. Yeah, granted, maybe the UNC's motto is theft, but the PNM's is crony capitalism to the T. Because they believe that they understand how to control the local market. You know, we know that what the local market needs is a local cement manufacturer. We know that, and we have to make sure that cement manufacturer stays in business. So we will do all that we need to do to take away whatever is hampering our local cement manufacturer. Not that we are trying to make sure the market continues to function freely. No. Taro Boy says construction will slow down again and the prices will drop. No, that's not how that works. TCL has no reason to drop the prices. Construction slowing down would hurt the construction market, but that's not really a bother to TCL as long as they maintain their monopoly. Bear in mind, TCL isn't only monopolizing Trinidad and Tobago. TCL is basically monopolizing the entire Caribbean. So you could not build your house this year. You could build it next year. Doesn't matter for TCL. So the thing that will drop that price is competition, not a reduction in a slowdown in the construction market. We don't want that, actually. Well, let's say worst case they open it up and they go bankrupt. Who goes bankrupt? TCL? Well, if TCL goes bankrupt, very likely. And this is the thing with that, you know. And they're dishonest sometimes with it. If TCL goes bankrupt, very likely what will happen is some other company would buy out the TCL factory down there in what area that is, Marabella-ish area. Some other company would buy out the factory and reopen a cement manufacturing company, probably under a different name. TCL already went bankrupt basically, and Cemex bought them out. If Cemex couldn't handle the plant, someone else would do the same thing. To pretend like, you know, it's a catastrophe that is worthy of the entire country paying 3 times the price for cement, so we must make sure TCL keeps being the monopoly. It's ridiculous. Right, Claxton me. Yeah, it's more Claxton me. It is ridiculous, and I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. It's along these similar lines to the bankers' excuse that the US used back in 2008 about the banks that were too big to fail, and that's why they make sure that they have to bail out those banks. You know, the size of those banks, you can't allow a bank like that to fail because so many investors would be broken and so many people would be harmed. So, you know, we have to make sure that we take your little pittances and pay out the billionaires to make sure that their companies don't fail. They are just too big to fail, you see. But would the government of today be willing to bail them out? The thing is, last action hero, the idea of a government bailing out companies is crony capitalism in and of itself. The nature of capitalism is a government is supposed to fail. It's not a government, my bad. A company is supposed to fail. If your approach to the market isn't suitable, your company is supposed to fail. My favorite one, my favorite business example for the OGs on the inside, you know, I love my doubles example because doubles strips away a lot of the fanfare and bureaucracy around it. You understand? Bara Chana. We understand this. If a doubles man makes horrible doubles, he is supposed to boss. That is the way the market determines that we don't allow horrible doubles to propagate itself in our market. If we had the case where when doubles taste like garbage, we have the government coming in and buying out all the doubles for the day to make sure that doubles man stays in business. You know, that doubles man employs 2 rappers and he employs some people cooking the chana and the bara home. It's important for the job and the economy to make sure the doubles man stays in business. So when he don't sell because his doubles tasting like garbage, the government comes in and buys out his stocks of doubles for the day. Now, how is the man going to improve his doubles recipe when the government keeps buying it out? He has no reason to improve it. But if it's the free market tells you, hey, that double's tasting like garbage, I'm not buying any of that. And the garbage doubles man has to close down, and the best doubles man makes the most money. System works perfectly. Oh, jeez. Bacchanal in the chat there? Talking about what governments can do, though, looking over to our neighbors, Guyana, I'm liking to follow what Guyana is doing, watching, because there are some similarities between Guyana and Trinidad and Tobago with their newfound wealth in oil and gas, and also Guyana has a similar demographic to Trinidad and Tobago with the East Indians and the Afro-Caribbean people, and then they have their history of agriculture, particularly sugar. Now, we didn't have as much general agriculture, but we did have sugar. Let's see what Guyana is doing with their sugar industry as they get wealthy. Guyana to build sugar refinery on site of closed sugar estate. The Guyana government says it will build a sugar refinery at the Enmore Estate, East Coast Demerara, that had been closed since 2018. We have an investor who is in the final stage of an investment decision soon to convert the Enmore sugar estate that is now closed into a sugar refinery. President Irfan Ali told the annual dinner at the Private Sector Commissions on Monday night. And that's what would happen to TCL if it were to bust. What they're talking about, there's an investor. Private, it seems, because it was at some private sector commission dinner. And as the refinery closes down, a private investor offers to keep it running. I like those kind of ideas. And I think the thing is, I think some of the things that makes that difficult in Trinidad might be the unions, because the unions always hate the idea of some private investor taking over some of those things. But personally, I think that's what is needed in so many areas. But Guyana's take non-rock hard as their product of choice when it comes to building. Smart on Guyana's part. Smart on Guyana's part. I think that's wise on Guyana's part. And I like this kind of idea where even though they evidently have boosting in their industrial side, their oil and gas side, they aren't leaving the agricultural side to flounder. And I think that's wise. Use the money you make on this side to invest over on the other side, or to channel investments from private investors over on the other side, so that you don't have all your eggs in one basket. Seems like a wise idea. Let's see what Dr. Rowley had to say about the police commissioner. Rowley, police commissioner, has government's full support. The Prime Minister said on Tuesday he was supporting Commissioner of Police Ella Howard Christopher in her post, just as he would do for any appointee on the job. He did not say if this support would endure beyond May, when her contract expires. I understand what the Prime Minister is saying there. He's basically saying if someone is in the job presently, it's not a good idea to remove support from the person that is presently in the job. I understand that. You don't want it to be that she's the current commissioner and you have the government saying we don't like her, we don't want her there, and she still has to go to work tomorrow with the government saying that behind her. That's not a good idea. I agree. However, I think some honest statements still need to be said about it. And evaluating isn't removing support, if you understand what I mean. To me, you can evaluate someone without saying you don't support them. You could say that in this evaluation, I don't think they are at the level that I would like, but yet still they have our support. Dr. Rowley said Haywood Christopher had been one of just 3 of the police top brass able to pass a polygraph lie detector test to attain the top cop post, and had been on a committee which had published recommendations on the police service. The final report of the Police Manpower Audit Committee: now is the time, no sacred cows. So, Tanti Earls was able to pass a polygraph test. And to me, the willingness to subject yourself to the polygraph test is more of the test than the test itself. That's what I think. And I wonder then, if Mrs. Christopher was part of the committee since 2017 that highlighted the gaping lacks inside of the police service, when she reached the position of commissioner, shouldn't it have been her first statement basically to resurface this report that they did and highlight all the areas that the police service is lacking? Like, you were part of the committee that wrote the recommendations about what the police service needs. And then you got the position as top cop. From that position, shouldn't your manual for what you're doing next be that report that you are part of? How do you get to the position and then seem like you're floundering when you were literally part of the team that wrote the report on what to do to fix the police service? How? The government's position is that once the person is in the post, they can count on the full support of the government. Once you're in the post, there is no point in appointing a general to go to war for you and start undermining them the day after or whatever. We have taken the position that while you are in the post carrying out the duty, while you are there, you can count on the full support of the government until that has changed. Asked what happens when Haywood Christopher's term ends in May, he said the PSC would trigger a recruitment process by inviting applications to be COP, which would later be put to Parliament. Asked if he expected a new person as commissioner, he replied, "I am not saying that. Don't put words in my mouth." A reporter asked if he was satisfied with Haywood Christopher's performance, especially after the recent GSC. Rowley replied, "I'm not here publicly assessing the Commissioner of Police. I will not do that. As I said earlier, as long as the commissioner is in the post as commissioner, for whatever period of time, the commissioner must have the support of the government, whether it is for another day, another month, another year. So I'm not going to get into whether I am pleased with her appearance in front of the media or whatever and so on. That is not the role of the Prime Minister." Is it not? Is it not the role of the Prime Minister though? If you as the Prime Minister, you are the one in charge of governing this country, isn't it part of your role to assess all areas of governance in the country? No one asked you to remove support from the person, but they're asking for an assessment. How could you say it's not the role of the Prime Minister to assess people that it's the role of the Prime Minister to facilitate the appointment of? You are the one that facilitates the appointment of the Commissioner of Police. But you're saying you have no job in assessing the appointment. What? Doesn't the Parliament sign off on this? Are you telling me you have no interest in assessing the person that you put into a job? You signed off on the person doing this job, and you have no interest in assessing their capabilities? Imagine that. Imagine that. You're building your home. You hire a project manager because you know these days that building thing gets a little dicey. You don't know the tradesmen. To negotiate with tradesmen could get a little tricky. You don't know the hardware go about, so you hire a project manager to do it. This project manager is one engineer named Dr. Rowlers. Dr. Rowlers comes on the site. Dr. Rowlers hires a plumber for you. All right, the plumber comes and is putting down the pipe and laying your waste pipes and stuff and da 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 and da 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 da. They put down one toilet. You flush the toilet, it falls over and spills over into the bathroom. And like, but wait, this not making sense. Plumber looks like he doesn't know what he's doing. But you didn't hire the plumber. Your project manager hired the plumber. So you call Dr. Rowlers, your project manager. Hey, Dr. Rowlers, a slight problem I have here, boy. The plumber, it looks like, I'm not sure if they know what they're doing, boy. Because the toilet they install flushing wrong side. And I'm hearing something wrong in the pipes. All right. So come and look at the work and see if this plumber know what he doing now. And Dr. Rowlers on the other side of the line tells you, I am just in charge of hiring the plumber. I don't assess the plumber's work. So, well, we'll see by the end of the job if we will assess what the plumber does and what we'll do if we'll employ a new person or rehire the... What do you mean by that? You are the project manager. Of course you have to assess the job. You hired this person and then you're jumping up to say that you can't assess them. That doesn't make sense. That does not add up, Dr. Rowlers. Replying to questions, he said he had no interaction with the Commissioner of Police since his return from the US, except to say that she is in a very difficult situation. She has a very difficult job. Even if things don't go as well as we would like on a particular day, that does not mean we should throw the baby out with the bathwater or behave as though her efforts are to be ignored. Again, here's what I'm saying. Let's look at exactly what he's saying there. She has a difficult job. Math, not mathing. Exactly, Trisha. Math, not mathing. He says she has a difficult job. Yes, indeed, she does. Which is exactly why it should be evaluated. That is the importance of difficult jobs. A surgeon has a difficult job. Why is it difficult? Because you're one scalpel move away from from killing someone and ending up with a malpractice suit. That's a dangerous job. It needs to be assessed. A brain surgeon has a very difficult job. Can you imagine someone saying, well, because a brain surgeon has such a difficult job, let's not assess the surgeries that they perform? So they're cutting people's brains open, fiddling with their gray matter, and we don't check anything after. We don't do any evaluation or assessment after. That would be unfair because they have a difficult job. What? How? Where the sense in that? Then he went on to say, even if things don't go as well as we would like on a particular day, that does not mean we should throw the baby out with the bathwater or behave as though her efforts are to be ignored. And here's my problem with that. If things don't go as well as we would like on a particular day, I am not saying you necessarily have to throw anyone out. All I would like is the accountability that we admit this wasn't a good day. At least let's start from there. Because you aren't even saying that things didn't go as well as we like. No. Ronnie, here's that's how much days before we could throw them out. Let's not even deal with throwing them out. I'm not even talking about throwing them out. We can't even say that the bath water is dirty yet. And the statement is don't throw out the baby with the bath water. But in that statement, it's understood that you have to throw out the bath water, you know. You don't leave baby soaking in the stink nasty bath water. We have to throw out the bath water. It's just we have to keep the baby too. But how are you going to tell me? You're continually telling me, let's not throw out the baby with the bath water. And I'm watching the bath water turn putrid. The bath water, a scent is emanating. You're starting to get a shiny kind of rainbow look on the top like oil in it. And you keep, I can't even see the baby anymore. I'm wondering if there's still a baby inside there, and you tell me, let's not throw out the baby with the bath water. At this point, I'm kind of willing to risk it. We will catch, don't worry. When we tip over the bathtub, we'll catch the baby because we really can't decipher baby and bath water in this kind of fecal matter you have for bath water here. And in that whole statement, the Prime Minister spoke about there. He spoke about the structural lacking inside the police service. Like there are structural elements that make it very difficult for the police service to run. And there are laws needed to do that. Now, my issue with that is that that's a government's job. That's literally the job of the people that we vote for. For the government to come to us and tell the country that the problem with the police service is that legislation is lacking is a slap in the face. That's a slap in the face. That's like the engineer for your project comes to tell you, well, what we're missing on the project is proper engineering. We haven't gotten the proper engineering specs done for the project. Boy, that is your work, boy. Go and do your work. Don't come and tell me that what we're missing is you doing your job. That's kind of off-putting to me. To come tell me that what's really missing. Don't blame the police. It's not the police's fault. It's actually our fault. We haven't yet written the legislation. And bear in mind, Trinidad is what, 60-something years old as an independent country? Our police service is hundreds of years old. And you're trying to tell me we don't yet have laws written. We have yet to figure out the laws to write down to make a functioning police service. Seriously? 60 years on, we can't figure that out? Laws coming, letting Police Service Commission make acting appointments for Commissioner of Police, Deputy Commissioner of Police. The government will bring legislation in the next few weeks or days to Parliament to allow the Police Service Commission to make acting appointments for Commissioner of Police and Deputy Commissioner of Police without having to seek parliamentary approval. So wait, Trini Hotep asks, why these people have salaries that can't even touch the regular persons? Because they get to determine what their salaries are. Basically. The government, the prime minister is saying that basically, as it stands, for an acting appointment to be put in the police service, it has to come to parliament, and they're now bringing legislation to stop that, you know, to make it that the parliament isn't in charge of acting legislation. Yeah. Yes, like, to me, let's not go to the US. Let's forget about meeting with Kamala Harris. Let's forget about meeting with the what's Biden's state, the Delaware National Guard, to bring over women, peace and security nonsense here. Let's forget about that. Let the government stay and write laws. Like, until you all finish write out all the laws that the country needs, don't go anywhere. Don't come and talk about anything else. Just do your job. The writing laws part, forget about anything else. Just write some laws now. Like, how are you out of the country having meetings, chinking glasses and drinking and sipping and talking talks, and you have laws to write here? There are big laws missing that you tell us are missing on the law books. It's your job to fill in these missing laws, and you all about the place doing all kinds of different things. How does that make sense? Where's the sensibility there? We need laws. Well, write them. Urged to establish police inspectorate. Police Commissioner Christopher must step up and action in manpower audits report that was commissioned 7 years ago by first establishing a police inspectorate, says Professor Emeritus Dr. Ramesh Deusaran. In 2017, Deusaran chaired an 8-member committee, which included Christopher, that looked into the TTPS. And this is what annoys me with the PNM. I always say this. The PNM is the committee party. PNM love a committee. They love committee. A committee is always formed. And bear in mind, people, for those of us who dislike the leftward side of politics, the Soviet Union, the epitome of communist countries, basically. What Soviet basically means, that word Soviet basically means committee. The Soviet Union, that communist idea was basically to run on committee after committee, a committee of experts, a committee of technocrats, a committee of the intelligentsia, and they would figure out these problems. PNM loves that kind of committee idea. Always with a committee to come and tell us what's wrong, and then nothing. 2017, they created this committee to tell us the problems inside the police service. The report, Now is the Time, No Sacred Cows, dated October 17, 2017, was given to Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley, who tabled it in the Parliament, following which it was sent to a particular GSC, to a parliamentary GSC. In a telephone interview with Express yesterday, Deusaran said the public will judge the PM on why he took 7 years to speak to the contents of the report. But he said that he welcomed Rowley's comments as the report contains key information that can heal the problems that plague the TTPS. Very good point. I don't know what you're talking about, Matthew Rupsing. This committee report was done 7 years ago. The committee discussed with the PNM is only to distribute funds to friends and financiers. Like Vibesy, we need to rise above the most basis level of partisan politics in Trinidad when we're doing our evaluation. Professor Ramesh Deusaran was the head of this committee. In your understanding of Trinidad politics, that's a PNM stalwart? You think Professor Deusaran is a PNM stalwart? So when you say that committees are there to distribute funds to financiers and friends, you do understand that you're calling all members of the committee financiers or friends. and many of them are not. So if they are not, then our conclusion that it's just for the matter of distributing money to friends and financiers may be incorrect. My view is that a committee is an obfuscation. A committee is a dispersal of blame. A committee redirects accountability. You see, if the police service is failing, I order a committee. Vibesy, let's not get too conspiratorial. Let's not get too conspiratorial. A lot of this is clear to see without having to go down in the deep depths. If the police service is failing and I throw a committee out, then I could say, well, any failure within the police service, we have launched a committee to determine this. And when we ask what's going on, you say, well, the committee is in charge of dealing with this. And when you ask, well, what should we do? You say, well, the committee came up with some decisions. Look, even now, the commissioner of police is under heat. The police service is under heat. The police service is under heat. And what does the Prime Minister do? He whips out a handy-dandy, nifty committee report. People, let's look at the committee report. This committee report says XYZ. So you can't blame me, you can't blame the commissioner. Let's look at what the committee says. People were getting upset with the handling of the hospitals and all of that during COVID. I don't know how many of you remember that. What did the government do? Ooh, trump card. Take a committee. The committee takes a couple months. The heat dies down about that. The committee findings are sent to the parliament. The parliament maybe might release a couple to the public, and all that issue dies. So, in and of itself, for the Prime Minister to bring up this committee finding 7 years later, that to me brings up some questions for the Prime Minister to answer in and of itself. Like, sir, Dr. Rowley, all due respect, what took you this long? Majority of Trinidadians have a 2-week attention span. That's true. And that's why committees are so useful, because the committees outlast the attention span. So for the 2 weeks you ask about it, they say, well, a committee is dealing with it. By the time the committee finishes, everyone forgets. Isn't that perfect? Isn't that a perfect solution? Any problem you ask me about, but why are our roads so rough? Why aren't you paving our roads? Well, here's what we'll do. We'll hire a committee, and a committee of 10 experts to dig into the road network and our infrastructure and determine why our infrastructure needs improvement and the kind of improvement that our infrastructure needs. Hi, host. The host is back up. I feel like that's important for delegating data analysis though. Yes, it is. A committee is a very useful thing. I'm not saying that committees aren't useful or that we shouldn't do it. I'm not saying that. I'm not throwing out the usefulness of committees or saying that we need to throw away committees at all. I'm just saying that they are also very, very convenient. To take some time to find the best solution based on in-depth research. Yes, there is some use. There is some use to it. I stopped taking things seriously in this place a little while now, and I haven't been more happy. DJ Bravo could have said that money he gave the girl and fix a road and not get. I don't know about this DJ Bravo business. I don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about that. But and who does it profit in the end? Well, it profits the government. It hides away It hides away. You see, here's the thing that I'm saying, Vibesy. I don't think necessarily that committees are in and of themselves profiteering organisms. I don't think that the government creates committees necessarily to make money for their financiers. I think committees are oftentimes creatures of convenience to allow for redirection of responsibility, and it just so happens that it allows them to pay off intellectuals. You see, a lot of the times the people that are in committees aren't even the typical financier. Many times the people that are in committees are intellectuals, doctors, professors, teachers, people who are experts in some field, and we are able now to give you a nice little something, make you friendly to the government, while making it difficult for someone to blame us for something. And in that realm, the creation of that professional expert class depends on the creation of the committees too. So it feeds into itself to an extent. So the UN has permanent committees that they have hired all about the place. And those committees are committees of experts that they need to determine things. But here's what it does. Reeve was talking about the usefulness of it, and that's true. But here's something that it also does very usefully. If I'm able to create a kind of need for a committee style of experts, and the people that qualify to be on committees, yes, Reeve, it is going back to that. It is exactly going back to that. Let me show you exactly why. I'm glad that you could see it coming a mile away. Because what that does is now the children of government officials are wealthier. The children of government officials generally are the ones who end up with majority of first and second degrees. That level, the children of the elites, and then look and see who populates most of those perma committees on all of those global organizations and Caribbean organizations and regional organizations and national organizations. Go look for most politicians' children and look at their jobs. See which jobs they get. So could I ask you this with your observation? Do you believe the committees in Trinidad are balanced or biased? I will not say that about every committee. I wouldn't make a broad brush statement and a broad generalization about every committee. And here's the thing about committees. Because it's the government hiring the committee, the government could do so and appoint Nathan Springer to a committee, you know. Don't be surprised you see some committee jump out and you see Nathan Springer name pop up inside of the committee. That might even be smart on the government's part. A committee on the usefulness of social media in dispersal of government information, and Nathan Springer is on the committee. And many people who may be in the committees, many of those people inside of the committee may be honestly trying to do their best. Some of them may be, you are an honest doctor, you are a medical doctor, they hired you for your expertise in medicine, and you give them your expertise in medicine. The people in the committee may be like that, like what you were talking about, Reeve. There is actual benefit to that. Some of these people are actually knowledgeable. They know what they are saying. But that isn't to say that the committee wasn't used as a red herring, as a distraction. Matthew Rupsing says all board members of major entities that distribute money change with government. Yes, they do. The board does. But the board isn't the only high-paying group inside of a company. The board isn't the only high-paying group. There are executives that aren't at the board level. And there are people, interestingly enough, There are people on boards appointed by one government that are related to people from another government. That is a regular, normal thing here in Trinidad and Tobago. Knowledge, yes, but do you feel sometimes they turn a blind eye to issues when directed to? Here's the thing, Vibesy. The statement, he who pays the piper calls the tune, is true. So, there could be some side of that, they are told to turn a blind eye and they do. But even beside deciding to turn a blind eye, oftentimes the scope of what a committee is set to look at is decided by the government before the committee is hired. So when you are hired, they tell you what they want you to look at. They tell you what they want you to look into. So your job isn't as wide as you decide it to be. It's as wide as they ask you. So the scope of what they ask you to look into could already be limiting what your conclusion will be. And then on top of that, the conclusion, what you find out may also be dependent on the assistance you get in finding things out. Who gives you the information when you ask them? So it's not just a matter of them purposefully turning a blind eye as asked, but also the people who structure the committee, who structure the questions that the committee look into, who structure the scope of the committee's interest. And it's interesting to me, though, that Tanti Earls, was part of one of these committees. She was one of these experts on a committee that went out to determine the problems in the TTPS. That was since 2017. She came to the job. Listen, that's like the person who says, hey, I think I know what's wrong with this service, is appointed in the position to fix it. Why aren't we seeing that? And as I continually see, if you're to tell us that the reason you can't fix it is because something is hampering you, well, then identify to us what is hampering you. Tell the public, well, the reason I can't do this is because of that. The reason I can't do that is because of this. But you can't tell us you're trying your best. We're not seeing any changes, while we know that you are part of a committee that determined a year-long list of changes to happen to make this better. Nathan, you saw the QRC Economic Forum? No, I did not see it. Lol, was it a humorous interaction? I didn't see it. You saw the QRC Economic Forum? No, I didn't say. I greet you all in great sadness. What's the sadness about, Vibesy? What's the sadness about? Positive radiation, sorry. What are you sad about? Flying reef is covered in oil. Oh no! Yes, I heard about that. Some ship turned over in Tobago and it's leaking oil. Yes, I was reading about that. Oh my goodness. Yes. Isn't it some kind of mystery ship or some kind of nonsense like that again? They can change commissioners until some government decides to secure the marine borders. You know, Matthew Singh, I don't actually believe that Trinidad's problem is our marine borders, as people like to say. I don't actually believe that's the problem. I think the problem in Trinidad is corruption in the police service that is an extension of corruption in the government, and a sign of corruption in the judiciary also. I don't think it's the coast. Dog, it real bad. I hope they get to cleaning that up ASAP. But yeah, Matthew Robson, I don't think it's a problem of the borders itself, because the plenty of illegal things coming in legal ports. Exactly, Ronnie Cakes. Exactly. A lot of it is coming in through the legal ports. A lot of the criminals, the vast majority of the criminals, look at the home invasions. It's not the Vennies invading the homes and beating up people. So I think that securing the borders is also a next distraction. It's not like it's the borders. The problem is not the borders. Problem is not the borders. The robbery suspects. Let's look at the things that bother Trinidadians the most right now. Car theft. That's not Venezuelan. That has nothing to do with the borders. It's not like they're stealing those cars to send them to Venezuela. The robberies, whether they be home invasions or hold up on the street, it's not majority Venezuelans or outsiders doing those robberies. They aren't robbing people to send it back. Check, Liz. I'll check. Yeah, it's not like they're robbing to send it back remuneration to Venezuela. The murders is not like it's majority Venezuelan murders. And people talk about it being linked to the drug trade, and I agree, a lot of it is linked to the drug trade. But it's not only just about us being a transshipment point. It's the fact that we are a haven for gangs because the police don't dismantle the gangs. By the way, kush cheaper than local. Doesn't that tell you something, Matthew Robson? Doesn't that tell you something? That seems to me, if that's the case, that seems to tell me that somebody is clamping down on local production and allowing everything to come in. You're forgetting where the guns coming from. The majority of our guns are coming from the United States. They're not coming over in pirogues from Venezuela, actually. Supply and demand, Matthew Robson says, not only, I wouldn't say only a matter of supply and demand, because the supply when it comes to illegal drugs is dependent on the work of the law enforcement people of the national security infrastructure. So the supply is controlled by national security. So if the supply is more on one, it's probably because they are allowing that supply to be more. And then you could wonder, if the supply of something that is not grown here is more, and the supply of the thing that is grown here is less, so that means there are more people importing. There's more money to make in importing than there is to make if you allow Rastaman to plant up his backyard and sell it. Take a stand against America and sanction them. Give them a taste of their own medicine, Duckegg says. And Duckegg, what are we going to do by sanctioning the United States? Do you know what a sanction is, right? So we are going to stop trading with them and stop trading with anybody who trades with the United States. So, okay, you're going to stop drinking and eating all products that come from the United States or are created by United States companies. I don't think many Trinis are on that kind of path. RL says the way how government has so much power over the trade here too, so much. RL, bro, it seems like you're turning more and more into a libertarian by the day. The government has too much power. You don't want a government with so much power. You don't want a government with so much power. Government power seems to be a major part of the issue. All right, people. That's all I have for now. Are there any further comments or questions? Watching from New York, God bless the United States of America. Go on, sir, go on. Triniflix says TNT too small. We created an environment that encourages nepotism. That's our core problem. That's true. That's true. Libertarian for life. You could have trained a fuera inside them, man, Trini. Be mindful, not mindless. Sure, positive radiation. What's the question?
Quick question or something to think about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Current TJ is responsible for a certain distance offshore.
Mm-hmm.
Vessel currently is, I could tell a guy to go in the area and fish.
Yeah.
Could literally see the distance. In a case like this, who should be number one leading the response? Who should stand legal liability for what it is? Because clearly Tobago wasn't prepared to deal with the oil spill at that level. And three, should this now allow for more funding in terms of disaster preparedness to team and the Tobago emergency response agencies? Because clearly they didn't have the resources to treat with oil spills when there are oil fields north of Toko, which happen to also be north of Charlottesville.
That is some very good points you raised there. For me, I would think an oil spill like that may be central government. I would think. However, because of the nature of Tobago, and that's why I understand some of the arguments for autonomy, like you're speaking about there with the reefs. That reef being affected is a very Tobago specific something. So you would say that maybe it should be some Tobago leadership in that. And understanding how to protect Tobago best might be something that Tobagonians would understand more. Maybe, when it comes to something like the question you asked about funding, maybe that's something that that TEMA needs to answer. Like TEMA needs to answer what would they need, what would they require for them to be able to see about things like that. And if it's something that is within the realm of feasibility, then I think, yes, that should be something that TEMA should take head on. But isn't this the second or third boat that is washing up in Tobago or something so within recent time?
When I go up Mount St. George, what I found interesting in this case, they seen bucket of oil as high up as Roxborough. And then our partner of mine, is heavily into maritime operations. The things he did was look at where the vessels were over the past 24 hours. And there were no record of a vessel of that type or kind anyway in the area. One, two, Great Race stopped run to Scarborough because of that setting reef. Tobagonians who know the space will tell you it's a very shallow water and it's easy to run aground there. And if you realize they stopped run Great Race into Scarborough and they brought it back to Storby, that was one of the reasons. The current on that end is very, very ticklish. I lost two neighbors diving for this thing lobsters and that very set same reef. So the average Tobagonian would know the risk out there. But for foreign.
So I think positive, a good question would also be the question that someone asked earlier. Who owns that boat?
Well, from what we heard today, some divers were supposed to go down during the day during daylight, but we're not too sure what was the outcome of that. Remember, it's oily water as well too. So we don't know what the outcome were. Next question though, in a scenario like this, because we saw media personnel were able to get onto pirogues and go to the vessel. Not on the vessel, but get close to it. This also shows were there, or why have we not seen a presence of a Coast Guard vessel in a scenario like this as well, to at least secure the site?
Well, positive. What you're saying there, and it's showing, is that there doesn't seem to be a clear standard series of actions, a clear standard procedure map that they have for emergencies like that. And when you have something like that, well, obviously you'd have that being the issue. So who is to take point? Now, to me, I would think that seems like something that TEMA should take point in. And as far as I understand how those things go, from TEMA, they may be supposed to reach out to the Coast Guard, and then the Coast Guard, under the instructions of TEMA, would act. If you look back at the divers at the with the Paria incident, Paria was able to get the Coast Guard to stop other divers from diving in, allegedly, to stop other divers from diving in. Paria was able to dictate what the Coast Guard would do. So I would expect that somebody in TEMA would have a number for a commander in the Coast Guard and be able to ask them for their services.
Let me tell you what's ironic in this scenario. There's a video on a journalist page, and I will direct you guys. I think you already know who a journalist is. And you literally seen water washing on this Scarborough Esplanade. You see oil washing up there. If you take a look just further down, you will see where the Coast Guard base is located. Just in front of where the area is washing up. In Scarborough.
And positive. What we have to recognize, as we almost always talk about with law enforcement officers don't enforce laws, you know. They follow orders. So it's not like the Coast Guard would sit there and see people going and automatically go. Generally speaking, they would have to get an order coming down.
Here's the next question I would also like to ask as we treating with this issue on maritime boundaries. Here, I am also thinking in the event you have vessels moving through that space, because Tobagonians know it's a very busy shipping lane. We see these vessels on a regular. So it's nothing new. But how could we have a vessel in the Tobago waters and nobody knows who owns the vessel?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I think serious investigation needs to be undertaken there, because why was this vessel there? Who knows who owns the vessel? If you're saying it's known that that's a treacherous piece of water, maybe the person wasn't even supposed to be there. Who knows? And why is the vessel leaking oil? Is it an oil vessel? Is it just oil that they were carrying in their engine? Lots of questions to be answered.
Even as I speak, I'm now seeing the news clipping. The vessel is completely upside down.
I saw that.
If there's crew on board, you don't know if he was carrying drugs. You know nothing about it.
That's very strange.
You can physically see the vessel, because even when I'm at my friend's house, you can physically see these vessels traversing this space. It's not new.
But positive, the size of that vessel, and it's not a pirogue, right? It's not like right. The size of that vessel, I would presume, this would have been my presumption. My assumption would have been that any vessel of that size, in and around the Tobago waters, the authorities would know that the vessel is there. But it seems like the authorities have no idea where this vessel come from, who own it is, or anything like that. Like the one that floated ashore from Mauritius or wherever it came from with the dead people or whatever. That you could excuse that because, all right, it floated ashore. So you could say, okay, they lost control somewhere in the Atlantic and it just floated ashore.
They literally found bones of guys who probably died and was decomposed in the vessel.
Right.
So there's to track it and all of that.
That makes sense. But this is a vessel run aground, so the vessel was moving through local waters. How do you mean we don't know who this vessel? That to me adds a heaping load of suspicion on the entire thing already.
And here's another thing that I found suspicious. They wanted to do a marina in and around that same area. And one of the biggest concerns from the environmentalists was the reef out there needed to be protected, so they don't want a marina in that said area. With a vessel turnover with that level of oil that is already on shore, I mean, where the cove plant is on or in, how to describe it, but inside cove, where they have the plant with this fuel up, and you could just take probably about 20 steps to the shore, and it's already smelling of oil from that distance. So clearly the reef is basically dead. So for the environmentalists and the life, to sound crass or harsh, but clearly the reef is dead. So is it that is a setup? I don't know, suspect, alleged. I don't know, is it to get the marina done faster? I don't know. I mean, it leaves so many questions.
Yes, it does. It leaves so many questions.
And how are we to now go and let's say take this vessel off the reef? What is the process? Is it that the actual vessel to how to put it, to restore to back the vessel, can it get so close to the shoreline I think if you see this thing from the air, it's shocking. And you see how close it shows in these kind of areas. I mean, as a Tobagonian, I really saddened by this. And it's also scary for national security. Because probably they can ship things to Trinidad, they probably shipping it through Tobago because the space is unpatrolled. I mean, I was at least and this happened since 7 this morning. Since 7 something this morning, you received the report. The video only surfaced until around, let's say, midday when people really realized what was happening. And then the chief press conference this afternoon. So the ship had overturned and was like nobody wasn't really seeing what was going on. The whole coastline stink, Killigrew Beach. Right now, we're monitoring, and they can't pull all of this sediment and this oil right into the port of Scarborough. It's right into the actual port in Scarborough where the oil currently is.
Well, maybe, hopefully the current pulls it off of the reef and not much oil on the reef, so the reef might live. That's a hope we could have.
No, I mean, it's still mind-boggling for me being a Tobagonian. I mean, we grew up swimming. I don't know Tobagonian who can't swim, who don't like the water, who don't have appreciation for the beaches, and it distasteful to our tourism product. I really want to see how this response from this is. We haven't seen a statement from the Ministry of Energy. Interestingly enough, we haven't seen a statement from the Coast Guard, who's supposed to have radar systems throughout the region. Even someone to have a monitoring station in Mount St. George. That is the most I could say about that. But it's supposed to have systems. What happened to the radars? Why are you taking us so long, almost a whole day, and we can't identify the vessels still? I mean, we had to send divers in to actually figure out what's going on. Somebody should have been able to identify this was the vessels we had during the route, but they said they didn't receive no distress call. So we're going to, which means we could now just use a remote control boat. So we reached the stage where we have remote control vessels operating in our space. So we had a kind of technology operating under the radar. When I saw the video, I thought it was a whale this morning. And I thought the assemble must be a whale or a submarine.
Listen, I don't even know much what to say because there are lots of questions. Where are the men? Where are the sailors that were on board this boat?
Good question.
Where are the men? Because it's either they ran off of the boat and came aground and told nobody, which means you're supposed to have a manhunt currently on in Tobago to find these men, or they are under the boat, probably dead. Who knows if they are survivors, which means you're supposed to have a rescue mission undergoing. So I don't understand.
Chief was there's a Tobago diving team led by a former Coast Guard officer that was supposed to dive the vessel to see if anybody's on board. And the dive team was supposed, a specialist dive team was supposed to come from Trinidad. But by the time they get to Tobago, it would be very dark and they wouldn't be able to dive. I mean, Nathan, if you see that from the press conference concerning it, it's scary being a Tobagonian right now. To be very honest, it shows you how open we are and how unprotected we are by particularly our maritime forces. I mean, it shows it, and I think I see it even going so fast to aerial protection. Because we don't even have an air guard helicopter or vessel station here. So in the event anything like this, we have an immediate aerial response. We don't even have a helicopter for a medivac. And sometimes when we present our case on the national space, people that say Tobagonians too aggressive or don't want too much, and we hear the whole about this. But sometimes when they actually see scenarios like this, it shows you clearly why we have some form or some position to say allow us to govern certain things. Because I mean, I'm so mind-boggled. I try to figure out how so many unknowns could arise in a simple scenario like this. Two, if you have oil drilling and gas processing north of Charlottesville, at least you would have some form of resources on the island of Tobago just in the event something like that happen. Why are we waiting for a specialist dive team to come from Trinidad?
But
and even if you're bringing them, we gotta wait for the boat to bring them up.
Here's the thing, positive radiation. I don't know what to say yet. As I'm telling you, there are lots of answers that still need to come out of this situation. Lots of answers that we haven't yet gotten. Is it so that Tobago does not have oil spill kits? Is that true? I don't know if that's true. Why is it that they need a certain specialist team from Trinidad? Are there no divers on Tobago? I don't know if that's true. Is it that they don't have the qualification? I don't know if that's true. Who tells them they can't go? I don't know who tells them they can't go. Why isn't there a search on currently for the men? I don't know. Why isn't there a rescue mission on currently for the men if you believe men are on board? I don't know. Why isn't there currently a publicizing of who owns this ship? I don't know. There are just too many questions. And as you're talking about the interview with the chief secretary, I don't know. Again, I don't even know how much blame could be placed on the chief secretary or who gets the blame in this case. But even with the chief secretary's press conference there seems to have been a lot of questions left unanswered, even from the chief secretary. So it's either he didn't know the answers or he wasn't interested in sharing the answers, which brings even more questions again into it. Why would the chief secretary, that is supposed to be the main governor of Tobago, not know the answer to these things if he doesn't know? Or why would he be keeping it a secret from the people of Tobago and Trinidad in extension if he does know? More questions again. Questions I don't know the answer to. And because I don't know the answer to those questions, I can't even say if this is a matter of lack of resources for Tobago. Next thing, it's not a matter of lack of resources for Tobago, but a matter of decisions made. And people made the decisions that allowed this to happen like that. We just don't know yet.
Yeah, when you look at the water conditions out there, you could tell that our water is very choppy. Because for the journalists who went into the boat, you would literally see the height of the waves out there. So, I mean, I am so confused in some of these things. Because the maritime boundaries, national security is a 7th schedule matter. So we have no say over national security. The Coast Guard does not answer to the Chief Secretary. And in my view, rightfully so. So you understand where I'm coming from? I agree. I could understand why I don't have a problem. The amount of resources we have on island here from some of our security agencies is lacking.
But positive radiation, here's the thing though. Even if the Coast Guard doesn't directly answer to the Chief Secretary, I am sure he has a line open directly to the Coast Guard. They don't have to answer to him, but I'm sure if he shoots a call to the commander of the Coast Guard and tells them a ship tip over right off Scarborough, rush and bring some guys to keep the scene safe, that he could get that.
But Nathan, do you know if there's a functioning Coast Guard vessel on the island? At least one?
I don't know. Again, more questions. I would like to believe that there would be at least one functioning Coast Guard vessels within the vicinity of Tobago. I would like to believe.
I would like to believe just
but
as
I don't know. I don't know.
Just as you. Because some of these things we can't speak on these types of platforms about. But Tobagoans very commentative and they go talk. I mean, the word on the ground is certain things and in certain things. Because it's like even if you at least had one, we would have visibly seen the one, and then the bar some journalists from getting so close.
Well, some people are saying that they are boats. Some people are saying they are Coast Guard vessels. So I don't know. That's why I'm telling you there are so many questions left unanswered. And personally, I believe.
Answer where is the vessel?
I don't know.
Is it in the water or on land?
I don't know.
Answer where is the vessel?
I don't know. But I believe that some of these questions can even be answered by the local THE. Even if they don't have the answer as to the final say of the question, they have the answer as to why it is unanswered. So the THA could say whether there are Coast Guard vessels in Tobago or not, I think. The THA could say why there wasn't a rescue mission. The THA could say why there wasn't a manhunt mission on land. The THA could say why this vessel wasn't listed. We didn't have a statement coming from central government. I don't mind if the THA throws who they have to throw under the bus, but at least throw them under the bus and let us know. But you can't be continuing the hiding of the facts for whoever is hiding the facts. It does have two in the water by the fish market in town, Ronnie Cake says.
Actually, when last we saw them, but moving on. done. No, but I mean, this thing for me, it calls for plenty questions.
Lots of questions.
It's early days. I know from an aviation standpoint, any accident, anything that happens to an aviation is treated as a criminal site immediately. It doesn't matter whether somebody dies or not. With immediate effect. I'm thinking something like this in the ocean. From the time we will get the whole site will be treated as a crime scene with immediate effect. And we just region. You understand me? Immediately for journalists to get so close. I said has been a lack of security.
Yeah, because it's the problem isn't the journalists getting that close necessarily. The problem is that people could get that close to the site, and if people could get that close, who knows if there was any kind of criminal activity, if there were guns aboard, people could have reached aboard and take away the guns before anybody reaches there. It shows that they didn't secure the site.
My little knowledge of the maritime space, you usually have a live vessel on board, a lifeboat, some form of rescue technology. You haven't seen or heard anything, they usually I mean, so nobody hasn't noticed a strange lifeboat anywhere.
But if they don't notice this one not tip over, they're going to notice the one to get them out. Anyway, I come to just say when last I see them, I saw the boats in the water. Sometimes it's a cruise ship. I saw them in the water like patrol. Well, not patrolling, but it was in the water because they're not really allowed to patrol to be water. They're allowed to patrol outside. So there's like the outskirts of Trinidad and Tobago. They're allowed to go in the army. If you understand what I'm saying.
Where the hurricanes is past. In between there.
Yeah, they can't pass. They're not supposed to pass through the and they're not supposed to patrol the and. Right? Anyway, but yes, they're not supposed to be in Tobago waters or come now. Well, not like that. Inside. That's why the Tobago police was supposed to get boats. Remember that? Tobago police was supposed to get boats because Coast Guard wasn't supposed to be in Tobago waters. Inside the waters like that now. I don't know if you remember that.
I don't remember that.
I'm not. Remember when they tried to close off the reefs? When they said we want
that was not the Coast Guard.
No, but what I said, because the Coast Guard not allowed to come. That is why the police supposed to get boat. Up to now, the police and them ain't got no boat.
You confused scenario.
I just telling you, that is literally, that is if they're supposed to be.
Who said the Coast Guard can't come and patrol inside?
Well, that was a whole topic of debate. I see, you know. Why we can't come back tomorrow when it's Tuesday too?
We couldn't.
I am busy tomorrow. My schedule is very busy tomorrow.
Let me finish this. Tomorrow is Tequila Tuesday. Anyway, it had. Oh gosh, I will have to look for the answer.
I know exactly what you're referring to. There was a scenario we need to be a carnival.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm not talking about to be October Carnival. This was since before. This was around COVID time I'm talking about. During COVID.
Mm-hmm.
When they wanted the vessels and them to see the glass bottom boats and thing, and they say, well, Coast Guard cannot be the ones to patrol the waters. And then after that, even when they open back the reefs, when they wanted to put a time on the reef, and they say they need boats because they can't use Coast Guard or something like that. I will look for that. I can't remember exactly. I'll find it.
This scenario for you is king.
Mr.
Emotion. If you could have a party or television, I was on the party. It was in the night. It was an environmental party. They wanted the police that they provided additional support for them within the region. That was things they didn't have the correct type of vessel because an area. I think this guy had loaned Peter Minchel. It's shallow.
Is it me alone or positive going in and out?
Yeah, you're going a bit in and out positive. Your volume fluctuating.
I must be giving some trouble. Right, so there was an issue out there and they wanted them to end. They have bought some boats for the dragon boat that usually sell in Tobago. But the whole thing, we didn't have enough vessels and we had the correct type of vessel to patrol. Vessels were stored at the shore park cultural company. But the arrangement to have the vessels available for the police to do that. That season. Anyway, and the water and that kind of thing. That's what happened at the season. The Marine Police was offering the water carnival from going out because of some licensing issue.
You're all going in, boy.
Yeah, you're real going in and out. But if I understand what you were saying there, clearly, you're basically saying it's not that the Coast Guard can't patrol inside, it's that the Coast Guard didn't have the right type of vessel to patrol the shallower waters or something like that.
Yeah, but then even then, why it is when they get the correct, when they're saying, well, we need this correct vehicle to get in there, why it is they only wanted police to do it and not the Coast Guard? Why the Coast Guard couldn't get the correct vehicle to patrol the water?
I didn't see a problem with Coast Guard getting the correct vessels to go in. At the time,
God, they specifically said police service had to get it.
They probably made a grammatical error because as far as the whole maritime waters controlled by Trinidad and Tobago,
I don't know if there'd be any legal grounds to stop the Coast Guard from doing any work inside of Tobago. I don't know if there may be some kind of bad blood where the Coast Guard say, well, they didn't want we for that, so we know. I don't know about that. But
I have a number of friends in the Coast Guard. That's the most I would say.
as I've said continually with this whole issue, there are more questions than answers. And like the more questions you ask, the more questions that are surfacing. Something isn't adding up. Clearly, in this, something isn't adding up.
And like as the water, like what I see from Bacalat side, the water being black, because that's where I work right on the sea. So yeah, I surprised I didn't see.
I would send you some of the videos. I think Liz Williams had a lot of videos from it. Candice Jackson. From Lambo. You see the whole of Petty True Beach covered in it already.
Okay.
When you go down to this camera, Esplanade, they literally wash it up onto the Esplanade side. From Esplanade.
But Ronnie, how you unfollow Liz Gill? What kind of thing is? How is that Tobago and you need to follow Liz?
I unfollow all of them.
Hey.
Everybody. I unfollow Tobago updates. I unfollow Liz. I unfollow all of them. I tell Oli I don't take nothing serious so I can be happy. All you want me to be happy.
You choose happiness. You choose your peace.
Yeah.
Don't follow an individual as well. I just hear when I hear something.
But if I need to know anything, like if how he come and he talk that thing, I went and look on Liz page one time. Liz do sick, But she's very sick,
I will not have you. The views and opinions expressed by those who are in the panel are not the views and opinions of the Mindful Live and host Leora Springer and co-host Nathan Springer. We do not co-sign.
But I think this for me is something I think all nationals of Trinidad and Tobago should be keen attention to. Because we have seen oil spills in point. We have seen a lot of response. I mean, I couldn't even quick. But I think the fact that we have we need to cater for things like
But I was asking before, is it that, oh, well, we don't know the vessel, because I was asking the company that well, if we don't know who's the vessel, then we don't know a company. But a company should have some kind of first response
Yeah.
to something like this.
And some kind of liability.
Even the yeah, but even the platforms out there, they're supposed to have some first response to it as well.
But that's why I say I continue. There are so many questions to answer. One of the first ones, whose boat is it? Anyway, people, it's 11:41 and we was wrapping up 11 o'clock. We stay a little extra 40, easy. So, any further questions or comments? Any final statements, positive or Ronnie?
Yeah, well, link from it is a watershed into the side. I think now, more than ever, the national community be looking at the impact of oil and gas and the economy, even though we really benefit. God is still good. There's still keen attention to the operation, and there might possibly be a business that was interested in oil and gas. We can have a conversation with me and you. Be mindful and not mind.
Pressure. It's always Carnival week. Go there and have some fun and be safe. Take all your precautions, blah, blah, blah. Ladies, no walking any night by yourself, please. I don't think I need to tell all of that.
Ladies, stay in your house.
Only go out there and have fun.
Stay in your house. Forget about Ronnie. Ronnie house like it itching. Ronnie don't like to be home. Stay in your house. Enjoy yourself. Inside nice. Inside nice. Inside real nice. Go and read a book. Do like your mother and your father always tell you, go and read a book. Pick up a book. When last will you read? Go and read something. Grab a book. Alright, people. That's all I have for now. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained. I am Nathan Springer. This has been the Mindful Life. I'll see you guys again tomorrow for the Thursday Talks, where we sit and we do just what we're doing there in the last. We do that for the entire live. We talk about whatever topics come up inside of the live and inside of the chat, inside of the discussion. You can feel free to join then. Until then, people, be mindful, not mindless, as Training Hotep says, and stay well. Later. Ways I liming after football, Sam late. Yeah, boy. So it go. Peace out, people. Catch the repeat on YouTube. Go on YouTube and see what you missed.